Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Brief.
This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief, your podcast for Detroit concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, and more. It's Wednesday, June 12th, and I'm a very stuffed up co-host. My name is Seth Ressler. How you doing?
Poor guy. I'm Becky Scarcello.
I'm over whatever pollen is floating
Yeah, you're
around
done
in
with the
air.
allergies, man.
This has been the worst I've ever had it.
I just had a head cold, and that was bad enough. I'm coming out of, but yeah, it's
All right.
rough.
I'm not used to Detroit because I'm not from here.
Right.
That's why I'm allergic to it.
Yeah.
You've built up an immunity.
I've built up tolerance to the adversities here. Yeah. I have to give another shout out today because today is my dad's birthday.
We're all celebrating.
We have a lot of stuff in June. So happy birthday, Dad.
Here's what's on today's show. First of all, Mark Kurlyandchik, the restaurant critic for the Detroit Free Press. We've had him on the show a number of times before. He's going to call in and check in with us.
And I'm going to tell you, speaking of food, about some new restaurants at the airport.
Ooh, I spend a lot of time at the airport.
I know you do.
I travel
You'll
a lot
be
for the
interested
work.
in this.
All right, you want to give me a hint? Which terminal?
North Terminal.
Ooh,
So-
that's the terminal that needs help.
You do? Okay. Yeah. Well, it needs help, but you fly out of there?
I fly out of both. I mean,
Okay.
I look, Delta if I have a choice, but
Yeah.
I don't always have
McNamara
a
is
choice.
generally where I end up flying out of, but yeah.
And some bad news. There were neo-Nazis in Detroit. We'll give you the details
Crazy.
about that.
Yeah. Friday's interview is featuring artist Tony Rocco, which you might know from the Atwater Brewing Company labels, but also is all over town at restaurants, hotels, etc. His paintings, amazing. And there's one in my house. It's one of my prized possessions.
Look at that.
Yes.
There's 6 in my fridge.
No. Only one.
All right, let's meet today's co-host.
The D Brief.
Let's welcome back to the show the founder and executive producer of Front Porch. This is a day that is happening. It's the third year that they've done this, actually. Saturday,
Bigger and better every year.
June 22nd. Performances on dozens of Ferndale porches.
Yeah.
Just bands of all different styles of music playing. And we've got the executive producer here, Michael Benghiat. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Hello, guys.
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Of
So,
course.
if anybody missed yesterday's show, once again, explain the festival.
The Front Porch, a day of music on Ferndale porches, is, as I might have mentioned yesterday, it's exactly what it says. It's bands and artists playing on front porches in the neighborhoods of Ferndale. This year we have 30 porches and 58 performances. So last year we had 57 performances. So this year is an all-time high.
Woo!
Perfect. Yeah. Got it over.
Yeah.
Love it.
How many bands wanted to be in?
So we had over 100 submissions.
Wow.
And there's an advisory committee that I am actually not on. So there was, I think, 6 or 7 people that I have to say this. Becky was on the committee.
You were.
Oh, it was so fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
Were
committee...
you taking a little side money there? For,
Yeah.
You
There was
want
no-
into the front porch?
There was
no
no
money
exchange of
involved.
money, yeah.
No, it was completely above board, and I got to check out a lot of bands, sound clips. It was really interesting.
Yeah. So they got to listen to the bands that made the submissions, and the bands have to actually give us a link to music, whether it's on Spotify or iTunes, or not iTunes anymore, right? Apple Music.
Yeah,
Apple Music,
they're retiring iTunes.
SoundCloud.
A lot of SoundCloud and Bandcamp if you're into the whole,
CD baby.
Yeah, exactly. And we had to whittle it down from all of those submissions to the 58 we came to.
It was hard.
So if somebody in a band is listening, it doesn't have to be a band. You can just be a solo musician.
You could be a
Oh,
singer,
definitely.
songwriter, solo artist. You could be a band. We have bands that have a handful of people, and we have 1 or 2 bands that have as many as 10 members.
10 members on
Yes.
one porch.
Well, we give them a big porch.
Yeah. There's some bigger porches.
What's the biggest porch you've got?
So the band that I'm referring to in the porch that they're on is actually an 1800s historic porch in Ferndale, and it's pretty massive. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. You got any other unique porches that really stand out?
There's a couple. There's actually one. I'm going to call it a porch, but it's actually not a porch. 619 Breckenridge is known as the Dragon House because he has a huge metal dragon sculpture on his lawn, water sculpture, and the bands play in front of his garage because it's a big space, and we've had as many as 300-400 people at his home, not his porch, his driveway.
I'm
That's
just
a
going to
cool
go
spot.
and shout Dracarys over and over again.
It's not that kind of dragon.
No, but if you're a musician, how do you get in? How do you apply?
So we're all set for this year. It's in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks, but we're already accepting submissions for 2020. So you go to thefrontporchmi.com, and there's a tab where you can. It's under the About tab, and you can submit for next year. If you're a band, you can also submit if you're a Ferndale resident and want to submit your home and be a porch host.
Oh, so just anybody can.
It's
Anybody.
voluntary. Yeah.
Now, anybody's porch doesn't always work, but yes, anybody can submit.
You can apply.
You can apply.
Okay,
And those you get more than you can handle.
We had about 60 submissions there.
I want to hear about the porches you rejected.
Well, no, that I rejected.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
You're
do
looking
the
at Becky.
Is there an advisory committee for the porches, or is just
no,
you going
so
like
myself-
you don't take your trash out enough?
Yeah, right. Well, that's a factor.
Myself and one other member of our team went out and kind of vetted all the porches out. It has to be safe and sightly.
Right.
At least
as
somewhat
long as you don't
sightly.
smell it from too far.
We don't
away.
want bands falling through the floor of the porch.
That would be wrong. Yes.
If people want all the details, what's the website again?
Thefrontporchmi.com.
All right. Well, welcome back to the show. Hang out. We're gonna have a good time.
Keep up with us.
The D.
Download our mobile app.
The D. Breathe.
Becky, let's talk about what's going on in the world of food and drink.
Yeah, so I have to talk about the weather, which everyone's talking about. Oh my gosh, this rain, and it's been cold, and this is not in our head. Like, this is record rainfall.
It's in my head. You can't hear it.
Right. But legitimately, it has been a crazy winter and spring here, and it's really affecting our food supply, fruit and vegetables. So strawberries, for instance. Have you had Michigan strawberries?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing.
We had a bag of cherries yesterday, and they were horrible.
Oh, no.
They were all mushy.
Yeah, I got my first batch. The same thing. Yeah.
Sounds like they
Yeah.
were waterlogged.
Yeah.
It could
right?
be, yeah.
I guess.
So our strawberries are just prized. They're actually going to be really great, but they're way delayed. So these are, so much better than the kind you get in the grocery store because they're not made to be shipped long distances and last forever. They're that red color all the way through the fruit. They're super sweet, just so yummy. So the rain is actually helping them. That's not the problem with that. But the unseasonably cool weather we've been hearing is delaying them. So usually by now you're picking strawberries. But farms are saying not till at least June 15th or later this weekend coming up. So those are going to be late, but should be plentiful. And you can go to MichiganFarmFund.com to find those you pick farms. So corn, though, is way behind. We always look forward to that sweet corn from Michigan, way behind. It's the latest ever, and they need it to stop raining. And I think, we were talking off air that there's rain in the forecast basically every day in June.
So here's the scary thing about the front porch. It's a rain or shine event. No, seriously.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
So
It's gotta be.
I'm looking at the Weather Channel like 3 weeks ago. My wife is like, "Stop looking," and I said,
Obsessed.
"But it's not. This year more than ever. It's been raining almost every other day, and throughout the entire month of June, it's showing that there could be rain every day."
I mean, here's the thing. Like, so I've in my radio days, had to book a couple of concerts. At least you aren't dependent on ticket sales because
Right,
there's
that's
nothing.
true.
You know this. There's nothing worse than being an event organizer and you're
sell-
sitting there worried about walk-up sales
Yes.
because you haven't sold out in advance and the weather calls
Doesn't
for rain.
cooperate, yeah.
And people will come out. I mean, I would. You bring an umbrella.
But
You walk.
the revenue, that's a legitimate
Yeah, no,
point
I
because
agree.
like the peaches crop apparently is wiped out. We're not going to be able to get Michigan peaches.
Wow.
Yeah, wiped out. I guess that's more due to the cold, like the polar vortex we had over the winter. Even apricots, plums, apples, some grapes destroyed. Millions of dollars in losses to Michigan economy. We're talking.
So I bought a house, last year. I've been in it almost a year and a half over in Oak Park. And the first year is the year where you fix up the inside and get everything right. The second year is the year where I'm actually,
Venture out.
I've been killing myself to get this backyard.
Curb appeal.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I've spent
And
a lot of
enjoy
time.
your yard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying it yet.
You will be.
I've spent a lot of money at English Gardens and Telly's and Bourdain.
We just shopped at Telly's a few days ago.
Can I say something here? Since buying the house, I've spent an awful lot of time at Home Depot and Lowe's. And those two places suck because nobody there knows where anything is.
A few 2 weekends ago, we said, you know what? Let's just go to Home Depot and grab some flowers.
Right.
This weekend, we went to Telly's and said, why did we go to Home Depot?
Oh,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
So
You
I
gotta
go
the
to these
local
other places.
gardening centers.
And they know everything
They
about
know
everything.
everything.
Yes.
Where
It's
you should
amazing.
plant, sun, shade,
And they
how
will
to care for
talk
it.
to you about it.
Yes.
And
We brought them a picture of something that didn't work out in our landscaping, and they said, "Oh yeah, we know what that is, and we know what happened, and this is what you need to do." So
yeah, it's amazing. So,
Invaluable. Yeah. So hang in there, farmers, and support.
and hang in there, Seth.
And hang in there, Seth. Support.
the water, I have some plants that the water's ruining my crop.
Yeah, it's like floating away. Yeah. So, new restaurants at the airport. I promise we talk about that. A few have opened since mid-April in the North Terminal. So this used to be kind of
Del Taco.
no, but this talk about a food desert. This was not nice. So now we have Cantoro Italian Market Trattoria's in there. Air Margaritaville and Atwater Brewery and Detroit Street Cafe, which has Zingerman's Coffee. They're like the first round of this $21 million dining redevelopment
There's
project.
more coming.
Oh, yeah. So there's 15 total food and beverage concepts coming. Those were just the first. This summer, we'll be joined by Mod Pizza, National Coney Island, Starbucks.
Can I say
more to come.
something? I don't know if you guys remember this, but when you used to travel, all of the restaurants used to be on the other side before you went through security. So
Yes.
this is really only for travelers now, which is kind of nice. Seth's looking at me.
I wasn't there
don't
before.
remember that.
I have only.
I think anywhere,
Anywhere,
any
that's
airport,
how it used to be.
They used to be on the other side of
Yeah, the
security.
airport has always been nice since I've been in Detroit. And
We have one of the best in
I
the world.
travel a lot for business, and I love
seen,
the
yeah.
Detroit airport. But I love the McNamara terminal
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Of course.
Partly because I really like flying Delta, and you can always tell whether my company is paying for where I'm going
Or you personally.
or whether I'm personally paying. Because when I'm paying, we go on Southwest or we go on, and I got to go out of the North Terminal. I don't like the North Terminal as much, and one of the reasons is not just the airline; it's the food,
The lack of food choices. Yeah.
right? And so I'm excited about this.
Yeah, these
This
are
is,
some good ones and some nice local flavor too.
Now, here's my question. When I'm going on a business trip, right, I've got a company credit card. Am I allowed to use my company credit card to buy food before, like when I'm at the airport, before I take off to go to whatever business trip
Well, I
destination?
don't know what your company's rules are, but in principle, I think you should be.
Absolutely.
The minute you leave your house, you're traveling for work. And
I agree with Becky. From the time you leave your house to the time you get back, you're traveling on
It's your
company
trip.
time.
Because I always feel guilty. I don't know why.
well, I mean, you have to go there early
'Cause I'm still in
and they
Detroit.
don't feed you on
No.
the plane. So you need,
All right.
you gotta hit the ground running when you get wherever you need
So
to
if
be.
I get called out on my next receipt because I spent money at
Call
Atwater
Becky.
Brewery,
yeah, call Michael. Now, you probably shouldn't get wasted before you get on the plane, but I think you deserve a company meal.
All right.
Yes. So, speaking of beer, this is a bummer, guys. Okay, Axel Brewing, they're, quote unquote, restructuring the Livernois tap room in it, but for now, it's set to close on June 30th.
Yeah.
we just had Dan
Really
Riley
sad.
on the podcast.
I know. I love
and
Dan.
and I know Dan as well, and it was sad news.
He's sad. Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough and a lot of jobs and stuff. So this is only 2 years after the tap room opened. Okay, that was in 2017. It was even in the Free Press's top 10 best new restaurants in 2018. But this is a 10,000 square foot building.
It was a big space.
Huge project. They completely redid it. It's got beautiful outdoor space. And yeah, they just said, it's been a very, very rough fall season. There's been a lot of challenges on the distribution side. I don't know if you remember when we talked about their story that it really was kind of like a backwards thing. They started out distributing the beer before they even had a tasting room.
Right. So most places have a physical location first.
They sort of build up awareness and love for the beer, and then
Hey,
they
you want our
expand.
beer?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I think they were kind of caught in that timing of that. Road construction on Livernois. So they're on Livernois and Ferndale between 8 and 9 Mile. They are the only bar or restaurant.
You're not
Yeah, we had
where
to-
all the action is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found it by riding our bike
Yes.
down Livernois
It's a little off the beaten path, but once you find it, I think it's great.
Oh, it's
because
great. Yeah,
it's
it's
easy
great.
to.
And we went back, and especially from where I live, it's close, and you don't have to deal with like Ferndale parking
Right.
and all that stuff.
But unfortunately, that benefit was kind of erased during this construction because it was, I don't know, 6-8 months or something like that.
Well, and I can't imagine they get a lot of walk-through business. of
No,
people
you're not getting the
just,
foot traffic.
No,
So
you're
tough
you're not
location.
on that 9-mile corridor.
right.
Right.
And you're far enough from the Avenue of Fashion that's
Oh yeah, that's not
going to be a
close.
factor.
No. So I guess they just really don't have the scale and the right sort of structure to make it profitable, as it's operating. So hoping to sell or secure a strategic partner.
for a partner,
I really
yeah.
hope that happens because it's just such a cool place. And it's such a part of the community. I mean, it's not just a food and beverage place. So good luck. I hope it stays around. I wanted to mention Travel Noir has a list of 15 of the best Black-owned restaurants in the country, and one of them is here. So it's called Fusion Flair Kitchen and Cocktails. Michelle Sykes owns it, and it's at Southfield and 96.
The D. The D. 3.
Detroit.
All right, Michael, from time to time, we like to have an expert call in and basically give us their take on what's going on in Detroit. One of our favorites, had him on the show a number of times, is the restaurant critic over at the Detroit Free Press, Mark Kurlyandchik, fresh back from vacation. Thank you so much for taking the time to call in. We love talking to you, Mark.
Always a pleasure, Seth. Happy to be here.
So here's the big question, because Father's Day, of course, is coming up. You're a father, right, Michael?
I am. I have 2 young adult sons.
Oh, goodness.
One to be married in about a month.
Wow. That's a big congratulations.
Thank you.
So I never know what to get my dad.
It's a tough one.
If people are looking to take
You don't like ties?
No, I don't like ties. I don't know. My dad doesn't wear ties. He's really hard to shop for. But it's the kind of thing where I could take him out for dinner.
Enjoy a nice meal together.
Do you have any suggestions? Are there places that you would go, where do you take your father when he comes to Detroit?
Yeah, my suggestion is typically, if you're just going to a restaurant and showing up, you haven't already made your reservations. You're probably in for a hellish time. I mean, it's the same thing on Mother's Day. It's the same thing on Valentine's Day. These are the days that I tend to tell people to just stay away. I mean, these restaurants are going to be working at full capacity. Everyone's grouchy. Typically, it's a recipe for disaster.
Learn to cook is what you're saying.
Yeah. Grill
Pardon
something
the terrible
out.
food pun. However, one thing that's kind of been increasing in popularity over the last few years, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. But pop-up dinners are everywhere now, and there's a pop-up for every occasion, every day. I mean, at multiple venues all around town. And the beauty about a lot of these is that they are ticketed events, right? So you're guaranteed a seat. You're not going to be waiting 2 hours while the brunch crowd clears out or something. And so you can have a decent time, and the restaurants also know what to expect. I feel like that's a better way to have a good time on Father's Day. So there are 2 that I want to point out. One is actually the day before Father's Day. It's Saturday, so you can do your celebrating of pops on Saturday and then take Sunday off. Chef Rebecca Lamalfa is doing a Father's Day seafood boil at Frame in Hazel Park, complete with like bibs and mallets for bussing up crab and other crustaceans.
Do they dump everything on the table?
Yeah, I believe they dump everything on the table. And Michael, you will appreciate this. There's lots of beer. It's just kind of a messy, good time. So that's a fun one for Saturday. And then to follow it up Sunday, if you are really wanting to do something on the day, there's a brunch. Allie Little she was previously the chef at Parks and Rec downtown. She's now been doing these regular brunches every Sunday at Revolver, which is kind of a new thing for Revolver. Typically every week they have someone different in there. But Sunday she's doing brunches, and she's doing a special Father's Day brunch at Revolver in Hamtramck on Sunday. So, and tickets for both of those, when I last checked today, were still available. And if I were going out for Father's Day, it would be between one of those.
That's perfect.
What are the rules for a pop-up dinner? Is it something where it always happens in another restaurant or another kitchen, or can it just happen on the street anywhere?
I mean, it depends who you're asking. The health department probably has some rules about it. The beauty of it is it can be anything you want it to be. It can be. I recently wrote about this pop-up dinner at a private residence, and it was a cannabis-infused pop-up dinner.
Right.
And then you have regular restaurants or bars. Like Nancy Whiskey is one that comes to mind, or even like Detroit City Distillery. That they just have regular pop-ups. They have rotating chefs that come in, and are doing things kind of that's something different every week. And then the third tier, if you will, are these places that are dedicated solely to pop-ups. So it's your Frame and your Revolver. There used to be a few more. In Hamtramck, there was a place called Human Street that shut down, but they're dedicated basically to just hosting these rotating pop-ups.
Speaking of fathers, we should point out.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, you were a father, but you're a father twice now, right?
Yeah, 2 guys.
Yeah, two little boys. Yeah, both under the age of 3. So my vacation the last 2 weeks, was with them. Not much of vacation.
When do you start training their palates? Is it too early?
Now.
No, the older one is already well versed in the art of eating.
That's awesome.
Well, let's also talk about the change of season. It's obviously summer, or supposedly in theory it's summer.
There.
Oh gosh.
I think what do we have, like 38 days of rain in May?
Something like that. Yes.
When the sun comes out, where should we be going for outdoor dining?
Well, finally it seems like Metro Detroit is catching on and making use of all this abundant rooftop space. Rooftop dining. And this used to be one of those things where, like, if you asked for a spot with a view, you were always stuck inside at like Iridescence or at Coach Insignia, which was at the top of the Rensen. They have these kind of sweeping views, but now we've got a couple in the last few months that have opened up. There's a place called the Monarch Club downtown. It's definitely more of a lounge and cocktail bar than it is a restaurant, although there are some snacks. And it's kind of the new hot spot downtown. I mean, you go up with this long elevator. It's in the what's the name of the building?
Metropolitan Building.
Yes, the Metropolitan Building, right. That is now the Element Hotel.
One of us is cool enough to have been there already. The others are not yet. So.
So the Monarch Club, I mean, it's got the best view of downtown available.
Incredible.
I mean, it's got multiple, sprawling patios on the roof of, I don't know how tall that building is, but I mean, there's really nothing like it. The folks over at Gather in Eastern Market, the first floor is kind of their seasonal dinner spot. On the second floor, they've opened this beer bar called Collect. And on the third floor is this just really laid back, no frills rooftop. I mean, it feels kind of like you're at if you have a friend or if you happen to live downtown or in like Corktown with these apartment buildings, that some of them you can go on the roof. This is kind of the feel of the place. It's got this neighborhood vibe, but it's still an open air rooftop where you can enjoy your beer and watch the sunset over Eastern Market. And then one suburban spot in Royal Oak, on the infamous corner of 11 and Main, which has been home to a number of different concepts over the years. So on the ground floor, there's Diamonds, which is a steakhouse from a Howell-based restaurateur. On the second floor, they opened up Pinky's, and it's kind of again, small plates, but mostly it's a lounge with cocktails. It's very pink, and they have this lush kind of garden in this on the rooftop of this place overlooking this busy downtown Royal Oak intersection, which is kind of it's amazing how different that intersection is from the last few years. And then of course Como's is back in Ferndale.
Yes.
That patio is its new life has been breathed into the space. Every time I drive by, it's packed. So. You might be waiting for that one, especially now with the news that Livernois Tap will be closing on the other side of Fern. They had a great place to hang out on summer nights with a beer and some food. But I think that crowd will if they haven't already, they will migrate over to Como's.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on Axel Brewing and Livernois Tap just shutting its doors? I mean, was it location? Was it?
No, I haven't spoken to Dan Riley at length since its since the news came out. I mean, I know some of the issues were on the back end, more about distribution and the way that the business was structured originally when he bought it. Because it's, as far as I know, that place is pretty busy. It was one of my best new restaurants last year. I thought it was unique, and they had a great brunch that also you could get in and didn't have to wait for. But maybe that's the problem. You could get in and didn't have to wait for it.
It's a big space.
It was a big space.
Big space.
Yeah, it's a big space. And with just beer on offer, it's a little tough. But I think most of those issues were driven by the distribution side of the business, as far as I know.
Hey, Mark, getting back to outdoor venues, my wife and I took a walk along the Riverwalk yesterday. Do you have any indication or pulse on new restaurants opening up along there? I mean, talk about outdoor sites and things to see. It's just a fabulous space.
Not specifically. I mean, there are a couple different developments that are going on along the Riverwalk. Some parks and basically there's a beach that's being installed up near Atwater. And then on the other side in West Riverfront Park, there's some new parks, and I'm sure there will be food elements to those. I'm not privy to information about what's coming there. The big thing that everyone's waiting for on the Riverwalk is actually very separate from the Riverwalk. It's at the top of the Renaissance Center, and that is, of course, the restaurant that's supposed to replace Coach Insignia, which has been long delayed, but I'm told is still happening, from James Beard winning chef Sean McLean. That's the laser that we're all waiting for to strike down.
I had an opportunity to go to Coach Insignia not long before it closed. My girlfriend took me there, and because she was telling me about the views,
right,
and they were amazing. So do you need to do much to that space? I mean, it's a beautiful space already.
I guess it would depend on the concept,
right? Its location, it was, but Coach Insignia had been there for, I think 15, almost 20 years.
Yeah, I'd be a little tired.
So, yeah, and I think the plan is that it's going to be. It was a really big space. I mean, I think there's like 20,000 square feet up there. So they're breaking it up into 3 different kind of distinct concepts under one umbrella. He's a Vegas. I don't want to say he's a Vegas chef. He lives in Grosse Ile, but he's kind of made his name in Vegas over the last few years after a career in Chicago. And so, with that Vegas style dining comes usually you want to kind of put your it's splashy. Let's
snazz it up.
Does it still spin?
Yeah, right.
No.
It does not.
They stopped.
It doesn't spin. Okay. Yeah, the Summit. Yeah, when the Summit used to spin.
Right.
Do you know about that, Seth?
Yeah, I remember that.
Rotating.
Yeah.
Not just stop. Yeah, they actually pulled out the gears that allowed
mechanism.
it to do that.
Oh, it can't. They prevented it from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big crank, I thought. You have to crank it.
There was mice in there running around the wheel.
There have been a lot of new restaurants opening up, and there's more on the way. And one of the things that has been a trend has been either restaurants that are owned by minorities or the chefs are minorities. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm starting to see. It's not just a trend of restaurants. These are kind of these big structural issues. It's kind of hard to just jump in, but I'll just say that it's we in the media have been implicit in this, and it's I think part of it is these conversations about equity and about racial equity specifically that are happening in the local restaurant scene are happening in media. They're happening kind of everywhere. And so there has been activity and attention finally given to some places that maybe traditionally, would be overlooked. One example is a place called Saffron des Trois, and it's on Gratiot, almost to Mac, I want to say. It's Gratiot and Van Dyke, and it's a little carry-out spot. They just finished their actual dining room, and they do kind of like fast, casual, Moroccan-inspired food.
I almost went there last week.
Oh, yeah, and it looked. Did you drive by it?
No, we went in a different direction, and we wound up at Katsu, Detroit.
Oh, how was that?
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, was it good? The service there had a lot to be
Yes,
desired.
but I think they got all those kinks out. Yes.
That's good. That's good. I will go back based on that recommendation, Michael.
Great.
Yeah, but Saffron des Trois too is just, it's driving by. I think they finally have a sign out. I happened to stop by a couple of weeks ago, and the lamb tagine that I had was fabulous. I mean, it's just really thoughtful too. It started as a food truck, and now is a really. They're kind of slowly building out into a full-scale restaurant, which is interestingly a similar model that Godwin Hentige, I hope I'm saying that correctly, from Yum Village. He's been trying to open up for a while. He finally got open up in New Center, started as a food truck. He's doing like really, really, really good Afro-Caribbean cuisine. So, it's jerk chicken, but also jollof rice, which is more Nigerian, and kind of melding these things into this just really delicious, kind of thoughtful, slowly built out spot that they finally got their sign up outside. And they've just, they're kind of building community at the same time as they are offering, really delicious food.
That is so good. I had some of their food at the Willis Show Bar for the WDET fundraiser last month, and it was really great.
Mm-hmm. And on the other side, too, though, you have a couple of Black-owned fine dining places that have opened up in the last few months. I'm talking about, I guess it's been a little more than a few months for a place like La Culture in Eastern Market, but then over at Bert's, the Motown Oyster Bistro. It's kind of like white tablecloth, fine dining. Mm-hmm. I really like, there's a place called Table Number 2 that opened up on the Avenue of Fashion, like on Livernois, just south of 7 Mile. It's a small space. It's very, I really like the kind of the aesthetic of it, and it's dinner and a show. It kind of harkens back to the old school tableside service of the classic restaurants of yore. They do the tableside Caesars and tableside lobster bisque, and it's kind of showy, and they have a great patio in the back. Still are working on adding liquor licenses, but so far, I've had one meal there when they first opened, and I'm excited to go back there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
So I live in the Beverly Hills area at 13 in Southfield, around there, and a sushi place just opened there called the Blue Bar Sushi. And it's Black owned, and he says, and I can't validate this, he says he is the first Black owned sushi establishment in the country.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. You sound skeptical.
Mark, what did you just say?
Check Wikipedia real quick, will you?
Huh.
Oh, looks like the Free Press had something on this place.
Nevertheless, it was fabulous. I would call it like nouveau sushi, and it was really, really good. And this guy knows his stuff.
That's great. I'll add it to the list.
I think
there's
you
also the chef at Adachi. He's a Jamaican-born chef who opened. He's the executive chef of Adachi in Birmingham, and they have a really great sushi program. They just opened that restaurant group opened a place called Zhao Jun in Bloomfield Township, and it's kind of a more family-friendly version of Adachi, a little more affordable. But they also do sushi, and he's a very talented and very well pedigreed chef. I mean, he's opened Nobus around the world. So I'm a little skeptical of the Blue Bar Sushi claim.
He might have just been
but
boasting.
I will follow up because that's interesting. And I just had a great sushi experience in Vegas, so I'm kind of on the sushi high right now. I want to keep can.
That's the difference. He can afford fact checkers. We can't here on this
Right. We just say
Seth, I said I can validate it. Mark, please validate.
Yeah.
When I say fact check, I'm going to go.
Right.
I think the facts are in my own hands here.
Oh, well, then in that case, we're just lazy.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I know that you have these takeover dinners that you've been doing. You have any coming up?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have a takeover dinner at Folk, which is an all-day, it's kind of like a breakfast and brunch cafe in Corktown. They were just in the news recently. I mean, they made my best new restaurants list. They're also just in the news recently because the women behind Folk have partnered with the women behind Marrow, which was another one of my best new restaurants, and they've created this joint venture, which is going to bring all this kind of transformative change to where Folk is right now. And one of the things is they're adding liquor. And then the latest news is they have gotten Chef Jesse Patuano from Gather to be the new chef de cuisine at Folk, and they haven't really had a chef de cuisine of that stature there before. And so tickets go on sale for our takeover dinner on June 29th, this Friday at noon on Freep.com. And you can go to Freep.com/top10, so that's TOP and then 10, to see our entire list. We have takeover dinners for all of the best new restaurants and the restaurant of the year that go through basically September. So we will see you through the summer with some really delicious food.
And if somebody's never been to a takeover dinner, explain what happens there.
Yeah. So they're basically the restaurants shut down for the night, essentially. I mean, they're not open to the public. That's why they're called a takeover, because the free press literally comes in and takes it over, and people who didn't get tickets are not allowed in. The chefs all prepare a special coursed out meal, and they get to kind of decide what it is and what goes in. Some do something that's very representative of the restaurant. Some do something that kind of pushes the boundaries of the restaurant. We leave it up to the chefs, but we have a great time. There's usually drink pairings. I'm there talking. The chef comes out and talks a little bit, and it's just a great way to, particularly for folks who haven't been to some of these places, to get to know them and to have that first taste that'll hopefully lead to them becoming regulars.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. Mark Kurlyandchik, the restaurant critic for the Detroit Free Press. We really appreciate you stopping by the show, and happy Father's Day.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Free.
Let's take a quick moment here and put a plug in for Michigan Podcast Productions.
For ourselves.
This is how we do.
Yeah.
We got to pay the bills.
That's right.
So you could pay us.
But plus, we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of stuff that we've, learned the hard way that we would like to share if you want to start your own podcast.
We're over 150 episodes into this podcast.
It's amazing. I know. I've learned so much.
How about a Front Porch podcast?
I think that would
Hey.
be a perfect podcast, honestly.
That is exactly why we started Michigan Podcast Productions, is because people were coming on this show, people from arts and entertainment organizations, people like yourselves, because you've got this Front Porch event that you do once a year, right? And you would love to find a way to keep in touch with the people who come to it throughout
potentially
the year.
6,000 people,
Right.
fans.
Top
How
of
do
mind.
I keep the dialogue going?
Right.
Yeah.
The TV show you pitch to DET, but that's expensive to
Yes.
make, right?
Podcasts are not that expensive.
Not that
Okay.
expensive. So we should talk.
Absolutely.
And have the inside scoop on all the bands that perform, and people would love that. The
I think so.
backstories.
And it makes sense for
Behind the music, Front Porch.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it makes sense
VH1.
for any type of arts and entertainment organization, whether you're a museum, whether you're a restaurant or a bar, or you're a theater and you've got a season, comedian, comedy club, anything. So
What if I'm an auto shop owner?
You know what? We would
Absolutely,
do it
yeah.
even for
Who
businesses.
were the two on NPR? The Car Talk.
Oh,
Yeah,
Car
Car
Talk.
Talk, yeah.
Absolutely. We'll do that for you, whatever you want. Go to MichiganPodcastProductions.com and we will help you launch your podcast.
This is the D.
Free.
Look, we don't talk an awful lot on this podcast about some of the ugly undercurrents that are going on a
Right.
national level.
No, it's not normally our jam.
We stay pretty focused on Detroit. We feel like that's basically, the scope of this podcast.
Yes.
But every once in a while, some of the things that are happening nationwide will seep into Detroit. And that happened over the weekend when neo-Nazis showed up at Motor City Pride. Motor City Pride, of course, the big celebration of LGBTQ. And it just feels like there's been a lot of license for people to be jerks.
Oh, yeah. It's hateful and negative.
There's talk about a straight pride parade in Boston and just all this stuff. Well, here in Detroit, neo-Nazis showed up, and the Detroit police have been criticized for protecting them.
Yes.
Right? And we're recording this on Monday night, but here's what happened and here's what we know so far. About a dozen members of the National Socialist Movement marched, at the Pride event with swastikas, and they've got riot shields, and they tore up a flag, and they're yelling things, and they're openly carrying firearms. And so Detroit police officers surrounded them and pushed away festival attendees who tried to confront the protesters. And you can actually see some video footage. This is what happens nowadays. People record this on their phone.
Oh, right.
And somebody's shouting to the police officers, "Why are you protecting, the Nazis?" Well, the police chief held a press conference Monday afternoon, and he said, look, we had credible intelligence that the group hoped to spark a riot that was worse than Charlottesville.
Wow.
That's frightening.
Very.
Absolutely.
I mean, this made national news and everything, of course.
Of course, yeah.
So I have to ask you, you're a festival organizer. And you're a festival organizer. The Front Porch event is happening in a community that is known for its LGBTQ residents.
And where a lot of people come out and they're on foot, and we have a lot of pedestrian traffic. And this was an issue even from day one when I pitched and made a presentation to the city council about this event. One of the biggest concerns was, how are you going to control the crowds? And as you're mentioning, Charlottesville, and there's been others where you get these psychopaths that get in a car or a truck or whatever, and they, we've heard about it around the world. There was a huge one in Paris, right? So it's a huge concern, and fortunately for us, knock on wood, there is some wood somewhere here, right?
Yes.
And we'll
find some.
We've had zero incidents, but it is always a concern. How do we control the crowds, and how do we make sure that we can kind of have the foot traffic live with the auto traffic, because we don't close streets down.
Right.
Because there's a cost associated with closing the streets down, and we work very closely with the City of Ferndale Police, and they do a fabulous job in helping us to maintain the crowds and keeping them out of the streets.
Explain what those conversations are like. Like, what are their primary thoughts, the thought process that they're going through and their concerns?
Well, in 2017, again, when we presented this concept to the city council, that was actually a concern. Just that was
neo-Nazis.
Not the neo-Nazis, but just someone using a vehicle to hurt people.
To ram into,
yeah. So. Fortunately for us, we've never even had anything like that. But you're right, because this community of Ferndale is known to, be open to that community.
And look, we're not just talking about Ferndale. This could be Dearborn. We could be having this conversation, right?
Yes,
this could be.
It's the last thing we want. But you know what? We try not to think that anything like that's going to happen on our day. It's all about music and inviting people of all kinds of persuasions and
look, I'm absolutely not singling out your event by any means.
Right.
This is something that every festival organizer's got to worry about.
Thoughtfully and protect people and be careful. Yeah.
And this Metro Detroit community, it has a lot of minority population. I'm in Oak Park. There's a big Jewish population there.
Orthodox. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's scary what's happening not here in our own backyard, but around the world. Whether it's neo-Nazis or other hate groups, and I don't want to turn this into into politicize the debrief here, but it's scary.
It's real. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, what a downer.
Well, but the music's going to be great, kids.
And I will say that although this was ugly, Motor City Pride was overwhelmingly amazing and positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just a wonderful event, show of love and families and caring, and it's just a blip. And, it sounds like the police were just trying to isolate.
And look, I am no expert when it comes to policing. I can absolutely understand why, if you had been at this event, you might have been making those criticisms that the person on the video was making. But you have to say this, that there was no violence.
Exactly. Safety first.
Everybody was safe, and it was a peaceful event. And, while there was some ugliness, nobody got hurt. So thank God for that.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D. Breathe.
There it is, another show. Michael, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you again for having
Very
me.
excited
And
for
thanks
your
for the
event.
attention and the interest of, for the front porch. And
I hope we didn't scare you. He's going to call his insurance company first things. We're gonna
not at all.
Oh no, he's a seasoned.
I've been in the business for a long time.
time.
Kind of like you. You were a promoter, right?
I was.
Yeah, so-
I did that. I hosted a couple food events. We had to worry about people choking on stuff.
Well, that's legit too. Well, and it's super cool because we're going to have a debrief porch.
Yes,
at the
absolutely.
festival.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know exactly which porch it will be yet. But
I don't either, but that means I'm wearing sunblock and hanging out.
yes, and entertaining the crowd.
You too could meet Seth Ressler from the debrief.
Oh my gosh, celebrity!
I will be signing
spotting.
breasts.
Well,
Okay. Did you have to go there?
no, he didn't. Yeah, just ignore him.
Look,
I said it was a family-friendly
I
event.
know, weirdo.
All right. Just the ones that are over 18. Here's the thing. We talk about a lot on this podcast. If you want links to everything we talk about in the show, here's what you do. Go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com. While you're there, sign up for our email list, and we will send you an email every single week with everything that we talk about.
You can also just text the word Detroit to 444-999, and you can check our Facebook and our Instagram and our Twitter for all kind of extra goodies too.
All right, Michael, we got one last thing that you've got to do before we get out of here. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
All right, here's how this works. We're going to ask you for a series of rapid fire recommendations. Just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind. Starting with this, you've got a great outdoor festival. Is there another great outdoor festival here in Detroit that you really admire?
Concert of Colors.
Oh,
So good.
Also music related, and it's just fabulous. And now I know over the past several years Don was involved. So yeah, Concert of Colors.
And there's a tiny desk competition going right on. You can vote for the
DET
opener.
is right. Some of the submissions that were made for Tiny Desk. Yes, that's what I need. Tiny front porch.
Yes.
No, tiny home.
Yeah,
Tiny
there you
house.
go.
houses.
I have a friend who builds those.
With a singer-songwriter.
He had one of those cable shows where he built those. I'll hook you up.
nice.
Yeah,
All right.
He likes Detroit. He wants to come back.
It's the tiny front porch.
I love it. What about, do you have a favorite?
Half a day of music on
half hour. Half hour.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah.
Are you a vinyl guy?
Love vinyl. I still buy vinyl. I just bought vinyl recently at Street Corner Music.
So
great
here's my
place.
question for you. Yeah, what is your favorite place to go record shopping?
I would say Street Corner Music's a good one, and Found Sound in Ferndale.
Ooh, nice.
Actually, Ferndale, Found Sound in Ferndale has probably one of the best collections of vinyl I've seen anywhere in the Metro
like
Detroit
going there.
area.
What kind of turntable have you got?
I have an old Techniques turntable that
Not 1200.
that I don't know what model it is, but I've had it since I was maybe 16.
Is it one of the wiki?
Well, it's funny you say that because I grew up in the Bronx in the 70s when hip hop and rap was kind of being born.
Yeah.
And I used to go into parks and see throwdowns with
sweet.
with DJs and MCs and scratchers.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, we talked a little bit about gift shopping. What's the last great made in Detroit gift that you either gave or received?
Made in Detroit. Actually, the last thing that I remember is that little purse that I bought for my wife in the Detroit store in the Fisher Building.
Pure Detroit?
Pure Detroit. Thank you. And it's a little purse made out of seatbelts.
Nice.
Have you seen those?
Yes. They have all
They're
kinds.
repurposing stuff, and that's cool.
Yeah, and they have new ones every season with different
Yes.
colors. And
Nice.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite Detroit dive bar?
You know what? Nancy Whiskey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a
That's a
favorite.
popular favorite. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people say that.
Yes.
What do you like about it?
I like whiskey.
You do. Yeah, and you're a bourbon drinker,
I'm a bourbon
too.
guy, yeah.
Yeah.
They have good stuff.
What's the first place you take out-of-town visitors? Say they're coming from New York or wherever.
You know what? My wife is a huge fan of Greenfield Village and Henry Ford Museum, so we take everyone there.
Nice. You obviously are working with a lot of bands. Do you have a favorite place to go see a concert, that's a regular concert venue?
I I like St. Andrews. I like the Fillmore. I like the small places where you can see music up close and personal. Hence why I like the Front Porch, because it's a unique experience. So yeah, those are two that I really like to see concerts.
Do you have a favorite place for late night food?
I don't necessarily. I mean, Lafayette, Coney Island is a great one, but just yesterday, my wife and I, and we mentioned I'm from New York, originally from the Bronx. There's a new pizza joint near Comerica Park, Ford Field, around that vicinity, called Moots's. Moots's Pizza. We just went. It's in the same area as the Belt. Yes. It was fabulous. They have a pizza window open till 3 a.m.
Oh, fantastic, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
You gotta go. All right. I don't think I passed once.
You did great.
So good.
You were fantastic. Look, Michael Benghiat, thank you so much for coming on. Once again, tell everybody about the Front Porch.
The Front Porch, Saturday, June 22nd, from noon to 7, 30 porches, 58 bands. It's all kinds of music genres. So really from folk, Americana, jazz, gospel, hip hop, rap, blues, singer-songwriters. It's
World Beats.
World Beats, yes. There is a World Beats band.
And kids.
There's a kids
yeah.
band, and I have to say this.
Yeah.
Because did you say it was your dad's birthday?
Yes.
Today?
Yes.
Well, on June 22nd is my wife's birthday, and I told her I'm throwing her a big party in Ferndale.
That's so nice. Best husband ever.
Where do people go for all the details?
thefrontporchmi.com. It's official as of last night. The full lineup, the porches, addresses, schedule, times. You can listen to all the artist music and kind of say, oh, I want to go hear that band or that artist. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. The chatter in the market is at an all-time high. And we're, the one thing that we're always afraid of, which we talked about, is the weather. So if you can do a little rain dance, or if you
anti-rain dance,
or
Yes.
Religious affiliations, or
Bring a rowboat, whatever.
If you're a James Bond villain and have that Death Star thing to move the sun,
there you go.
and you're a villain and want to do something good, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All those things.
Have a great event. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on. Until next time, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Hi, Craig Foley here. If you're listening to the Debrief podcast, well, I've got two things to say to you. One, you have impeccable taste. Two, you care about the community that is Metro Detroit. That's why I think you'd appreciate my daily show, The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit. Every weekday, I tackle the big issues in politics, business, arts and culture, sports. Whatever's on the mind of Detroiters and Michiganders, we will talk about it. It's all open for discussion. And keep this in mind, news doesn't have to be boring. Sure, we talk about serious stories and we have interviews and commentary, but we do it in a way that, if I'm doing my job right, is informative but also entertaining. Check out The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit for news, knowledge, hopefully some fun tossed in.
Interested in hearing from folks in the craft beer industry? Tune in monthly to the Beer Tour Guy podcast. I'm your host, Steve Johnson, and I'm the owner-operator of Motor City Brew Tours. And since 2009, I've taken 25,000 people to enjoy the best beer, cider, and mead being made in Southeast Michigan and beyond. On the Beer Tour Guy podcast, monthly I interview folks working in the industry, where you can learn more about what's going on in the industry and in other tours that I'm offering in my tour company. If you'd like to learn more about our show, Beer Tour Guy, or Motor City Brew Tours, visit motorcitybrewtours.com.